I mean, what I want to know is, does this mean there's going to be a whole load of Rolex mini clocks available for purchase out the back of a lot of Formula One rings? And can I have one, please?
I want all of them.
There must be a shed in Silverstone with a load of these things in, a load of Rolex merchandise. And second, if you were Rolex and you now had your $50 million or whatever it is they spend on F1, what are you going to get into?
Buy more dubious real estate, easy.
Buy more ADs that belong to other brands,
and then your competitors end up renting from you. I think that has happened before.
Greetings and welcome to this week's aBlogtoWatch weekly podcast. If you are unfortunate enough not to have been enjoying the live stream on aBlogtoWatch weekly live, then you've missed all the pre-game chat. So I suggest you do go over and have a look at that. Why we're talking about pasta growing on cheese, which particular state Ripley thinks may believe that pasta grows on trees. So you've got to go and check out the live show for that. But thank you for joining us on the recorded show. We are technically now a video cast because we do, stick this video out. David loves just sitting back, watching himself on video week to week. Just his favourite thing to do.
That's what I do all day long.
All day long, just second screen. Ripley was informing us about the whole second screen thing. I missed a bit of it because my system was down. Ripley, do fill us in about whether you think aBlogtoWatch Weekly Live qualifies as a second screen show or not.
Well, the video quality is superlative, so obviously this is something you fully want blown up on your giant TV in your living room. But I think we're all pretty good looking dudes. So no, this is first screen. Let's go front and center. Don't hide the talent. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Don't hide our light under a bushel, even if that bushel's covered in spaghetti.
I was okay with this being an audio only show. I was told that people like our faces, but
yeah,
if you just want to listen, I'm okay with that.
I mean, you just close your eyes. If minimize that screen, but
that's the way to watch something. Just close your eyes.
Just close your eyes.
As the podcaster, do I do the entire show and be like, hey, I do it with my eyes closed. I have no idea what's going on.
I'm so good at this, I can do it with my eyes closed.
Yeah.
That's going to make for an interesting hit miss, maybe.
It was a blind hit miss, maybe. You just have to... there's definitely a show in that.
We could do
somewhere.
it just based upon the name of the brand and the model of the watch. I mean, sometimes the names of the models are so funny.
Okay.
We could do a hit miss maybe just on that.
I think we have a new format for this particular week
coming
up that you'll get to enjoy. I think we might have stumbled onto some genius. That's how the best genius works. There we go. That's how we roll on this particular show. Good. Well, gentlemen, tell us what's been going on in your weeks, Ripley. Other than let's do we don't do a wristwatch check. Let's do a Ripley's clothing check. Ripley, who are you adorned with today?
Well, the shirt is from my buddy at the YouTube channel Clicky Bezel. The hat is Norcane. The water cup is from Bob's Watches. And
stolen.
And the wrist is Islander. It's the Port Jeff GMT. So Miota 9075 for under 600.
Very good. I've realized this is the only reason to do this show on video is your dress code.
I'm running low. If I'm being honest, I'm running low. I do have a pair of driving gloves, but that is a very specific look.
That's a look. That is definitely a specific look.
Don't worry, David and I haven't even pulled out all of our stuff yet.
Ariel, you could probably dress yourself for the next 5 years wearing a different shirt for this podcast.
5 years?
I'm going to start wearing like jewelry, USB drives from Basel Worlds Past. Okay.
Build a wall out of the boxes they came in.
Oh my
oversized boxes for
we
tiny
could have
USBs.
some really. I have a Doxa polo shirt.
Ooh, very good.
See,
that's quite nice.
I'm representing a little bit.
Yeah, good. I do the Ferdinand Berthoud USB drive. I think was my favorite. The one that's the wee chain, the fusee chain.
That was the late generation one. You need to go back early when there were CD-ROMs being handed out. Right. I remember those days. Oh, do I remember?
Okay, well we can have a what's in the watch drawer or the junk drawer from Ariel next week. So yeah, get your drawers ready. What's been in your watch week this week, Ripley? What's been entertaining you?
I mean, I've been writing up a Timex, so I've been wearing that around a bit. It's I've kind of had a brief week of hiatus before going into more stuff. I've got an interview with one of Zenith's ambassadors tomorrow. Next week, I'll be off to New York with Citizen. But recently, this last week, it's been fairly laid back. Been able to catch up on a couple hands-on pieces that have been on the back burner for a bit. But yeah, it's been pretty chill. How about you, I?
How about me?
Well, you or all of us. I mean, Rick, I know you're building a farm. That's an undertaking.
I am building a farm. I'm building a farm that is not watched, although the Bell and Ross I've been wearing has survived so far. So that's good.
Is there going to be a sundial on this farm?
Is there going to be a sundial? That's a very good question. There's a like, it's not a famous clock. It's not even really that famous in the town that which it exists in. But in the town near me, there is a big clock that is now being relocated. I was thinking of making an offer for it, like one of these huge clocks that you put in like gardens, rose gardens and stuff. I thought that might go off quite well.
Are you building a clock tower on your property?
Well, a clock tower makes a lot more sense than a sundial in Scotland.
Well, that's true. There is not a lot of, we were certainly, while the Scots are responsible for inventing a lot of things, the one thing we were not responsible for inventing was the sundial. We might have invented the water clock. That's a possibility. Had we been left long enough, the water clock was definitely available to us as an invention, but nothing else. Ariel, how's your weekend watches been?
It's been good. I had a nice week. I was in Vienna. David was there with me for a few days. And probably the most interesting watch-related thing was going to some of the museums and seeing what people's timepieces were in the 16th century and recognizing that these, antique devices were their, wristwatches, pocket watches, things like that, the equivalent. Some of them were not even, dials. They had little fold-out sundials and interesting type of instruments and stuff like that. And it was kind of interesting to see watch nerdery, that version of it from hundreds of years ago that people would have just sort of been carrying around with them. So that was pretty cool. But overall, yeah, an incredible educational adventure. I think I went to like 8 museums total when I was there.
And did we get any visibility of good watch film use on the way home? Or were we just snoozing in first class on the way back?
What did I see? I mean, there was definitely some watches in Vienna. They have like every store you can imagine at this point. On the film? No, it's not like every movie has it. You always
still more Japanese manga on the way home, was it?
I did. I saw a lot of that. The selection on Austrian Air was abundantly strange, I have to say.
Of course.
The number of fully Chinese movies on Austrian Air from LAX to Vienna was just, I wasn't understanding why it was so heavily in that direction. American movies, very few.
David, how's your weekend watches been?
I mean, as already described, it was a fantastic exploration of horological treasure in Vienna, and you just walk through these rooms and you see a sarcophagus somewhere, and you see some, a Vermeer in another room, and then suddenly you see a tower basically made out of ivory and beautifully presented with all kinds of. One of my favorite things was this tower that was sitting on top of this minuscule or like model church building of a clock, and the hand was spiraling up and down as an indicator basically on this tower. And I thought to myself, that is incredibly creative, and
it was like barber pole swirly time indicator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, on a 300-year-old clock, because why not?
Very interesting.
Fantastic stuff.
Cool. So this was at the eBay event that was in Austria. Was there anything particularly Austrian about it? Like, did you feel the people there had a different approach to the way they used eBay? Or was the rollout of, because this was rolling out the guarantee stuff in Austria, I assume, was it?
Well, sort of. The rollout in Austria is not happening quite yet. It will happen, I believe, in a few months. This was more to just discuss its slight expansion within Germany. Now people from Germany can buy from Austria and under authenticity guarantee, but not the other way around yet. The collectors in Austria, though, in Vienna, were very impressive, very intelligent, down-to-earth people who knew their stuff, had been collecting for a long time. Very kind of democratic in their taste. And we find this actually in a lot of parts of Eastern Europe, which I guess Austria is, really kind of on the cusp of there. And what I mean by that is an interest in tool watches, luxury for sure, but also these like old tool watches and interesting, types of not necessarily the most expensive timepieces that are interesting to them, and then they build off of that. But I mean, really dedicated enthusiasts, knew their stuff, and I had a great time with them. Maybe David has a different story.
No, I think that was a fantastic, summary. I mean, it was interesting. It was very focused on watch people. It was not an event that was focused on the highest head count and just to get as many faces in there as possible. It was more about actual eBay sellers and experienced, eBay folks. So that was a very particular and very efficient way to meet and to discover this new service of eBay.
I had an interesting, when I was speaking there, sort of an interesting idea I shared, and that is that a major type of collecting which exists today is facilitated by eBay. So rather than eBay being just one place to sort of buy and sell watches, there's a particular type of collecting of which I'm a part of that requires eBay as a tool to search for watches, to buy watches, to sell from time to time. But the sort of ability to have a great number of products at different price points and categories and conditions on eBay is actually a benefit. Obviously, they have things like authenticity guarantee to make sure you don't get a fake watch or something like that. But the sort of highly curated nature of a lot of the competitors, their high prices and limited selections, make them just stores, where I think eBay is more of a tool, and it's helped me and a lot of people have the type of watch collecting style that we have.
Cool. And in terms of the vibe you were picking up in that part of Europe for used watch sales and purchases, obviously lots in the news at the moment. Is it Morgan Stanley that produced that report that's out this week, I think, showing various areas of decline within the main Swiss watch industry? What was the vibe you were picking up?
I mean, your
eBay
general
users?
consumer is not exactly going out and living in a celebratory way. So spending is modest right now, and that's not particularly surprising. It doesn't change people's interest in the hobby. If anything, during periods when people can't buy, they get that more excited by it. So they're like always planning, like, when I have the money, I'm going to buy this. When I have the money, I'm going to buy this. And they spend a lot of time hunting and researching. I do know the people behind that report that you're talking about, and I took a cursory look at it. Really, what it was just doing is validating what I've been saying for a long time about not market downturn, but more return to normalization. And I think that they tried to, in the best way they could, also explain it that way, that this wasn't, oh my God, things are going bad, but the crazy world that things were more than retail price and people were buying these like assets, that's going away, and the market is returning to what honestly a healthy market should be. So too bad for people that were buying watches thinking that they'd sell them for more later. But for everyone else, this is not bad news.
And so when was the great time of normalness? Like, what date are we turning the clock back to when we say, yes, conditions are just returning to normal? Just like 2015, 2020,
It's
1990?
It's hard. Yeah, it's a very good question. I mean, there's been a lot of change over the last 2 decades, so I see exactly what you mean. I guess what I mean by that is most new watches don't fly off the shelves because there's a lot of them out there, right? It's a very competitive space. So people tend to buy with a little bit of a discount because that's what sort of just greases the wheels and makes people feel important. So not crazy deep discounting, but modest discounts for a lot of watches. Brand new is sort of the norm. And then after, when you buy a watch and you want to sell it, you're going to be selling it for a depreciated price, like a car or something like that, not for an inflated price. And there isn't going to be a bunch of people eager to buy it for you for, barely less than what you bought it for. Usually you're going to have to take a hit on a watch, and that's okay because you want to be able to buy a used watch at a decent price. So that's, I think, the sort of important part of this bargain is that, yes, watch prices are going down, but that's good for you because when you want to go buy a watch, especially a used one, you're not going to be asked to pay an amount which is so high. And I think that the used market is where a lot of people who couldn't buy new get in. And what we've had over the last several years is the used market is like, Well, that's basically become the primary market because it's just too hard to buy new, which is totally strange. The used market should be for those people that can't necessarily afford to buy brand new or don't want to because they feel confident in knowing how to buy a used watch. And then the brand new market is for the mainstream, and it was sort of flipped, and it didn't really make a lot of sense. So I think it's less about the specific time that we're returning to and more a series of factors and price points and psychology. This is going to continue to be a consumer focused market where the consumer's in charge, because the fact that there are so many more watches than actual buyers out there, especially if you take into consideration the many new watches that are built each year. So the last several years, they tried to position it as a seller's market, which was sort of silly and artificial. So this is a buyer's market, and used watches are, much less than brand new, and brand new aren't always at retail because it's a very competitive and wide open market.
Mm. Okay, well, let's move on to one piece of news, which I don't know if has it been confirmed yet, but let's share this screen. This is a particular report. We'll go to a Formula One blog for this. The days of Rolex are over. Red Bull sponsor makes a deal with F1. It seemed to be a very live chat. I don't know, as I say, if it's been confirmed that Rolex are out and Tag Heuer in as the main F1 sponsor. Question is, gentlemen, at least two of you are F1 fans. Don't know about Ari, are you an F1 fan? Do you care that much?
I've been to a few of the things. It's pretty cool. I don't really care about all the politics and people.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. I've heard this rumor. It does seem to be a rumor. Maybe it's true, but I'm just wondering, why are all these outlets covering it? Obviously, Rolex, titles get clicks or something like that. But how has this been substantiated? What is the evidence people are using for this?
I mean, it seems to just be that it's not being kept very secret. It's a very big organization, and a big change like this, people's tongues are wagging.
Whose tongues,
in between.
though? Are there actual sources?
I've not seen any quoted sources. I don't know if Ripley or David have, but equally, when this many outlets are reporting it and then no one's coming out denying it from either LVMH, Tag directly, or Rolex, I think it's reasonably substantiated. But yes, not confirmed.
But they probably wouldn't. This is just a bunch of free publicity for them. Everyone involved is like, great. Let them speculate.
Do
you not think Rolex, if Rolex were being, done over by LVMH Group and they were getting loads of publicity on the back of Rolex being the sponsor, you don't think Rolex would come out and go, gents, take a chill pill. We're the sponsors of F1 for the next 5 years.
The Rolex way is to never publicly comment on anything unless absolutely mandatory, even when you're explicitly asked. And even then, they will not give you the answer you were really looking for. So, of course, they'd never. So it's like the British royal.
This is like the British royal family. You just never comment.
Well, I mean, it's such a, whether or not it's true, it's such a. I could so easily see it being true. I mean, Rolex pays what they want to pay for things. They're featured so heavily in things that they're not paying for, that, this is how Omega became the watch of Bond. Allegedly, Rolex was approached for the sponsorship. They said, no, we're not paying that much. Omega said, we will gladly take that. And that's been one of the most lucrative partnerships for them. So, I mean, it could easily be something where F1 was saying, look, the sport's grown in America and globally exponentially within the last several years. We want more money to be the title sponsor, because Rolex doesn't sponsor any team in F1. It's the whole F1 organization. So it's not, you're not seeing it on any one specific team. They're just behind, you just see the Rolex logos all over the place. If it was an instance where F1 and, the FIA approached Rolex and said, we want more money, and Rolex said no, I could easily see LVMH, who has ample funds, stepping in and saying, well, we have Tag, who has a very strong racing lineage. This seems like a perfect fit and we'll gladly take it up. Plus, there's been a lot of scandals in F1. It's sort of like the Real Housewives meets motorsports. And, I could easily see Rolex saying, look, it's great publicity, some that we don't really need, and we'd prefer to just not have to pay to be constantly reminded of these various scandals and petty political arguments between the various teams and their staff members.
I mean, what I want to know is, Does this mean there's going to be a whole load of Rolex mini clocks available for purchase out the back of a lot of Formula One rings? And can I have one, please?
I want all of them.
There must be a shed in Silverstone with a load of these things in, a load of Rolex merchandise. And second, if you were Rolex and you now had your $50 million or whatever it is they spend on F1 plus all the costs, and you're like, okay, we've stopped sponsoring F1. What are you going to do with that money? What are you going to get into if it's still in the marketing budget somewhere?
Buy more dubious real estate, easy.
Buy more ADs that belong to other brands.
That too, but just real estate, and then your competitors end up renting from you. I think that has happened before.
I hear there's some room on the moon. They might want to start putting Rolex clocks there.
But they just
and a new
this
manufacturer.
Cave.
To make the actual moon watch.
So is that the power move? The power move is to become the officially certified NASA watch and take that on from Omega.
Very quickly.
No, NASA doesn't have the funding, but how special are flown watches that actually went to outer space? What if every single watch is just made in outer space? Just a little sprinkle of a specialness on everything. Oh, you want a moon rock dial? No problem. We'll grab something from the front yard. We got you set.
Okay, exactly. But do you think Rolex sponsor a team? Do you think they go right? No. Okay, we'll just
they will sponsor individuals. That's what they do. They have their testimonies. They have Sir Jackie Stewart, Mark Webber, some other guys from endurance racing. So they will sponsor drivers and the whole sport, but hardly ever a team. That's usually the trend, whatever sport you're looking at when it comes to Rolex.
Are Red Bull going to be looking for a new sponsor? Does this mean Max Verstappen gets to wear a decent watch in
Nope.
next year's? You don't think that they'll have to pull out of sponsoring Red Bull to sponsor the whole thing?
I thought about that, but honestly, why would they? If you could just double down and be on one of the most successful teams and the whole league, whether or not Max comes in first, you're still getting good publicity.
Right. Okay. So, but give me some dreams as to there must be a little. Is there a particular national sport of Hungary that you think Rolex should get into sponsor? Like in Scotland, it's Shinty. I think the Rolex Shinty League would be quite good.
You're thinking small, Rick.
Yeah.
They could take Shinty global.
They go from sports to entire countries, okay?
So name the country that Rolex is going to sponsor.
That's the way to think. Italy might be sponsored by Rolex, I'm just saying.
Chad.
Okay.
Small African country. Let's just go.
Chad is literally sponsored by Hungary now. it's a small coincidence, but it is happening as we speak. For all kinds of weird reasons. It's interesting.
No, there you go. So that's the news from this week in F1. Let's actually talk about some watches.
Hi, I'm Ariel Adams from aBlogtoWatch. I'd like to tell you about Bezel, the modern app for buying and selling authenticated high-end watches. Bezel isn't like other platforms. Bezel was designed exclusively for today's timepiece collectors and enthusiasts, offering choice, convenience, safety, and service. In addition to personally authenticating each timepiece sold on the marketplace, Bezel also offers a personal concierge service to walk you through any part of the watch buying or selecting process. Want something not currently listed on Bezel? Their concierge service is happy to seek one out for you. Buying and selling a watch can be scary as well as challenging, especially with all the options out there today. Bezel uses a modern, intuitive interface to deliver a class-leading technology experience that makes it simple and fun to search through available watches or list one you currently want to sell. Try Bezel today and discover what others like you are already excited about. Get the Bezel app or use the getbezel.com website. That's GETBEZEL.com. Thanks.
We're going to look at 3 watches that have one thing in common. And that is they've all got 2 crowns at stupid 2 o'clock and stupid 4 o'clock. This is the first one, the Astor+Banks Sea Ranger M2 watch. Gentlemen, any experience with this watch, Astor+Banks in general?
I've seen some
Nada.
Astor+Banks watches, not this particular one. Generally I like what they do. There's a fairly solid attention to detail, but and from what I remember about this one, the internal bezel is unidirectional and ratchets maybe, but I think it's a solid piece, not too sporty, not too dressy, but you could easily see someone wearing this pretty casually on a daily basis.
Yeah, so talk to us about the general reason why watches like this have two crowns. What's the purpose of the second crown normally?
The internal rotating bezel.
Yeah, exactly. To operate the internal rotating bezel. This was, realistically speaking, it's not a superior approach to a dive watch because the fewer points of potential water ingress, the better when you're trying to make something water resistant. You obviously have your crystal and the case back. Those two are givens, unless you go for like a monocoque design. But most watches get around it by a singular crown that screws down. By having 2 points of potential ingress, you're just kind of doubling up on the amount of potential for water to get in. And let's be real, the purpose of a internal rotating bezel on a dive watch would be to track something while you are underwater, because it only goes up to 60 minutes. It'd be like a decompression stop, and rotating and operating that crown, regardless of the gasket system that's used, ultimately would increase the likelihood of it eventually failing and flooding. Now on these, you see a 12-hour bezel. So obviously this is more for a second time zone or like a longer duration of elapsed hours, maybe for a flight or something. But in my opinion, a 12-hour bezel makes way more sense for a twin crown setup, because it let's say you're using it to track a second time zone, you unscrew the crown, or if it is, a screwed down second crown, rotate the bezel, and you're really not changing that too much. On a watch where you want to have that thing you can grip and rotate it to time something, a secondary crown is hardly that convenient. But I like this approach here with the 12-hour bezel.
Yeah, I think my problem with these is always, if you were genuinely using them underwater and you had gloves on, would you trust yourself that you could remember which crown did what? Like, as to which one you had to unscrew to change the time versus which one you turned, and you're just sitting with neoprene gloves on or whatever, that there's plenty of movement, and you're like, am I unscrewing this? Is this turning? And suddenly you've unscrewed the crown. And
Can you imagine Comex not going out on a mission and like, well, we better not go out because we don't know which crown does what. Like, we're not very well prepared today. We're just not sure. Let's just stay on the boat.
Stay on the boat. A little arrow that points, well, as I've discussed earlier on before we started recording, got this Bell & Ross in, and it's got this one doesn't, but the famous "do not unscrew this screw." That's what these watches is. This is the wrong, like Wallace and Gromit. This is the wrong crown. Do not.
I agree.
Unscrew this crown underwater.
Yes.
It should be marked. Now, the interesting thing is this watch is $1,395, and that's going to become relevant as we move on. It's a Solita. No, this has been an upgrade. This is a Lejeune Perret G100 movement with extra decoration, which doesn't make a lot of sense as it's got a solid steel case back. But there we go. The watch servicer will enjoy it in years to come to look at your nicely decorated Lejeune
I'm sure
Perret
it's
movement.
beautiful.
You full of anticipation. Are you not convinced, David?
I'm sure it's nicer, but it's not like someone's going to open it 10 years from now and be like, wow, I've never seen a watch like that. What? Geneva stripes? Huh?
No. The idea is you want the watchmaker just completely ignore the finishing, other than being like, "What the hell is this?"
The term custom finishing is so widely used. It can be something very elaborate, but in some instances, a brand says, custom decoration, and you're like, you stamped your name on the rotor. That is, it's decorated, but I don't know if that's really, what's going on here.
But technically, they're correct.
Yeah, they are. It is custom. It is decorated.
I want that soundbite Ariel saying, but technically they're correct. I think that could be like a fun little.
Well, the internet can give that to you, David.
Oh, well, I will clip that and send it round everybody to use.
Please do.
You can use it as a ringtone for Ariel. Every time Ariel phones, it just goes, it's technically correct. Good stuff. Well, that leads on from that twin crown watch to this one.
For nearly 85 years, Marathon Watch has been a family-owned company specializing in an extensive array of precision instruments designed to measure time, temperature, and distance. Today, all Marathon watches are built with industry-leading standards at the company's own factory located in La Chaux-de-Fonds, Switzerland. Many people know Marathon as a long-standing supplier of timepieces to the Allied Armed Forces. Today, Marathon is the Allied Forces' only remaining official supplier of watches. Marathon is also proud to supply high-quality tools to law enforcement and rescue professionals whose jobs absolutely require reliability and value. Since 1941, Marathon has been producing timepieces to exacting standards for the military, and until recently, that was the only way to get a Marathon military spec timepiece. Today, Marathon welcomes watch lovers everywhere to get to know one of the best-kept secrets in performance horology. Marathon watches were worn by active-duty professionals in conflicts such as World War II, Operation Desert Storm, and Operation Enduring Freedom. Wearers appreciate the ultra-durable, ultra-functional, and ultra-precise nature of Marathon's mostly tritium gas tube illumination-equipped products. Most recently, Marathon proudly announced the launch of the new Jeep by Marathon collection, which includes 4 featured timepieces that honor the brand's rich history and honorable service supplying the Allied forces back to 1941. Discover the full collection of exciting enthusiast-grade Jeep watches, as well as the full collection of Marathon products at marathonwatch.com.
This is the Sherpa X TRTS. Apparently, that's a podcast. Ops watch. Okay, this is a bit of a chunkier beast. Still the whole twin crown thing, very much more of a dive watch. It's the kind of compressor style, as you go deeper underwater.
Am I the only one that gets cognitive dissonance when you see 2 crowns? There's something about, I don't know why. It's very difficult for me to see. If they do it the Omega Seamaster way with the helium release on the other side, I can handle that. But these 2 sort of oppositionally placed crowns on the same side, it's for me weird. I wouldn't say ugly. I highly don't prefer it.
I don't prefer it. Another clip from Arrow. So this is an SW200 one movement. Okay, but same kind of concept. This is a compressor.
It's supposed to be well made. It's expensive enough. I mean, this is supposed to be
that was kind of,
and it's actually
that's what I was kind of coming to.
It's a proper super compressor on this one as well. So it's like the old EPSA style cases where the case back uses a multi-component structure. So as you go deeper and the pressure increases, it actually creates a tighter seal against the gasket. We no longer need this technology. Modern machining and manufacturing has made it entirely irrelevant, and now you can just have a solid piece of metal screw in and you're good to 1,000 meters. But that is worth noting. It's not just a twin crown setup. It is a proper super compressor, but it costs 5 times more than the Astor+Banks.
$6,400. Yeah.
$6,500.
So, Ripley, thank you for explaining that. But why does anybody want a super compressor? I mean, it sounds cool.
It's so
like some game from the 90s.
It's so when you show up at the watch meetup with all the other guys with their twin crown watches, and you get to look at the guy with the Astor+Banks and say, "Yours isn't a super compressor. Mine is." And he goes, "Why does that matter?" And then you launch into a 5-minute monologue describing this archaic and outdated technology, and then flex on him for spending an extra $5,000 on it.
And at what point do you go out in the parking lot for a round of fisticuffs? Huh?
It's just bizarre. I mean, there's some technology involved in watches which is largely superfluous and pointless. The helium escape valve, you could argue some people have some purpose to it.
How dare you, sir?
A super compressor.
It's a fixture of this hobby.
Everybody needs a helium escape valve. A super compressor case strikes me as being the single most pointless thing that we still have in watches.
Bumper movements.
As in, it is specifically designed to be worse than what we can actually do. You're relying on more components, not less.
I thought that was the continued use of acrylic crystals.
No, but at least through acrylic you can still see it. I just don't get why. I'm with you, like, why would anybody buy a super compressor on the basis that they were going to use it as a dive watch, as opposed to just because they decided it was cool, like you say, the Watch Me Up, they just wanted to pick it up on their pals.
That's literally it. Look at all of these complications. There so many things in watches. It's about more parts, more complicated solutions to the same problem for marginal increases in benefit. This, technically speaking, only talking about the case back alone, it does get more water resistant the deeper you get. It's a cool piece of engineering. Is it better? No, but let's choose a complication and let's ask if that's better than something else that exists in the industry. Or look at some of these in-house movements that are a time-only display with 500 parts. That's not better for anyone.
I think we will need to rate complications at some stage from pointless to most purposeful.
We should just remember the article I did about the most useless complications. We should restart there.
And what was your conclusion of the most pointless?
Equation of time.
We'll just go through it.
No. I'm not having anybody speak against the equation of time.
It was on the list. Sorry.
I bet it was on the list. Okay, so on the basis we've looked at 2 watches that are dual crown, let's look at a third entry to the market, all in the same week that these have been reviewed. I'm not quite sure what was in the water this week that meant that all these came out. This is the Christopher Ward C65 Super Compressor Elite Watch. So this is halfway between the Astor+Banks and the Sherpa, in that this is actually a super compressor, I believe.
It is, and this was the one. It is a super compressor. This is the second super compressor, proper super compressor that Chris Ward's done. And I was mistaken. This is the one. They look so similar. This is the one that that has the ratcheting unidirectional bezel. So it is a dive bezel, not a 12-hour. That second crown operates it as you would expect, but rather than just spinning freely in either direction, it's unidirectional with a ratcheting motion, and you get a display style version of a super compressor case back to showcase the super compressor technology spring in there.
Do you know
I don't like
what would lead me to super compressed happiness is if the bracelet, the finishing of the bracelet and the lugs would be identical. Before you do ratcheting this and that, don't put vertical lines into curved lines, for the love of God. Make a time-only watch, coordinate these things, and then we can meet at 200 meters depth and see how compressed our cases are.
Yeah, you need to, if you're not watching this on video, you need to go and find the video either on the main aBlogtoWatch channel, an edited version will go out the same day that the podcast was, or go and look at the aBlogtoWatch Weekly Live channel and you can see this as soon as possible. This is an ugly watch. This is not a pleasant watch at all. The more you look at this watch, the worse it gets. I'm sorry, Christopher Ward. You dropped the ball on this one.
I'm not the only one that thinks that. Because I was I don't like
David's right.
Yeah, the integration is pretty heinous.
The integration is horrible.
The thick internal bezel, unnecessarily thick internal bezel. Yeah, the dial is...
Tell me what time it is. I realize I'm looking for some reference for the hour markers, and I'm like, oh.
It's 5:05.
It's 18 past 50. It's 18 past 50.
One of those Star Trek panel novelty watches.
Yes.
I mean, the Vulcane, which I believe this is more or less, but I think Vulcane did these originally, and the Vulcanes are nice. They're really 60s, 50s, whatever, at 70, really cool, with all this dive chart nonsense on it that, listen, I wouldn't know where to start, but I don't anticipate that this watch really aids the confusion on how to use one of these charts. This is horrible. This really is horrible. But it is horrible to the tune of a bit cheaper, shall we say. It's 1840, maybe 1685.
Does this watch
the same as that?
And the Sherpa have the same exact emblem on the case back?
I was going to say that exactly. The dive suit, even
the chain around it, even yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have
if you have to dive with that equipment, you're going to die these days.
Hold on a second. This is really, I don't know how I can display this. Hold on. So that is the Christopher Ward, and this is the back of the Sherpa.
Oh, okay. It's the underwater coffin.
back of the Christopher Ward. Okay,
it's a foreboding omen. You'll be put in the suit and chained to the ocean floor.
Okay, have they bought?
It's not a happy
backs of
picture.
these? Have they bought the backs of these watches off of? I mean, they're not just a little bit similar.
Is that the
Yeah.
international sign for super compressor? I didn't know there was one.
But there's nothing super or compressor to that image at all. I think
That's
Part of
they're
some
really
type
weird.
of
We have very
weird
nerd.
old-timey diver chain gang. We need like a biker jacket that has this motif on it.
Yeah, so if you know what's going on, then please do get into the chat as to whether this is a thing within super compressors. Okay, before we let the gang in for Hit Miss Maybe, we're then going to just tweak and go from that watch and those three that are on twin dials to this Ariel. Instead of looking at any of those watches, would you just be better off buying a Victorinox Dive Pro titanium quartz watch and be done with it?
Yeah, pretty much.
You reviewed this watch. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, so this is the new Dive Pro, very simply named collection of watches for Victorinox, which is undergoing a bit of a change now. They have a relatively new internal department, and it's interesting to see where they're going to go with their watches. Ripley was the first one to write about this. We were musing on how we didn't really like these at first glance when we saw the marketing shots, but in person they're a lot better. I'm still not totally sold on the design of the hands, but it's honestly a relatively minor thing. These have titanium cases. There's also some versions with steel cases. It's just sort of a cool, fun tool watch, and it really doesn't. It positions itself as a tool watch. It's almost like a pastiche of tool watches, and it's kind of, the colors are fun, nice, very Swiss made. So it's not just a little Swiss made. It's like 90-something% Swiss made. The cases are made in house at Victorinox. I enjoyed these as, again, very decent tool watches that don't take themselves too seriously and actually do their job pretty well.
Good. So if you were to spend 1,500 quid, let's say you're ruling out the Sherpa because it's $6,500, or that you were able to get the Sherpa second hand in probably 6 months' time for
yeah, but at the
quid.
watch nerd, sort of like get-togethers that Ripley was talking about, there's not really too much to say about the Victorinox. It's like, I got a Victorinox. They're like, okay, well, that's very decent of you.
You're going to have so many conversations about those weird tips on the hands. The second you hand it to someone will be like, oh, this is actually pretty. Oh, whoa, what's going on up there?
Yeah, there's that, if they look closely enough.
Yeah, you can almost miss it on the hour hand, but the one where it's like framed in yellow, it's... Yeah,
it depends on the version. Highly version dependent.
Maybe I have missed this. What am I looking for here?
Look at the tips of the hands. They almost look like they were made and then not all of the framework of the stamping was cut out. It's got this like little hat with a point.
Oh no,
Yes.
you almost missed it.
I almost missed that. It's like an Airfix kit.
It's also on the hour hand.
Yeah, but it's in black on the hour hand at least.
It's like a piece on the, like, they kind of had to form it that way, but they forgot to snap it off after they placed it on the dial.
Yeah. It's like the burrs you get on model airplane kits.
Yeah, the
where
burrs.
you pull
exactly.
the bit of plastic off, and it's still got the little bit on the end where you've broken it off of the plastic frame. You would think that for a knife company they'd be able to cut it better.
They just wanted to do something a little bit different with the hands, and I totally get what they were going for. And they were just, it's a little weird. But that's the easiest thing to swap on future models. And these little text on the side. Did you notice that little text, tiny little text on the side of the bezel there?
300 meters, because that's where you need to check.
And on the other side of the case, it just says titanium in tiny, tiny text.
And then there's the additional colored pointer pointing at the crown, be it at 3 or 4 o'clock, depending on the model.
Yeah, these are little minor things.
There's the crown. It has one crown and something is pointing at it. If it has two, you're on your own.
Don't forget to look at this thing. Is it screwed down?
Good stuff. Right, well, let's move on from that and have a go at playing Hit Miss Maybe. We will start letting some people into the room. Let's see who's here. Kevin, I believe, is coming in just now, first in. We may have a full house today. Kevin, how are you this morning, sir? We can hear you. Remember, we are live currently.
Good to see you.
Good. How's your internet today? How's London internet? And is it any better than California internet?
Oh, I think so, but my wife's going to be on a Zoom call as well, so at this time,
right,
okay. God.
you never know what's going to happen. Yeah, exactly.
It.
Overload.
It's not allowed. You just need to say no. Just put your foot down and just say
Kevin's
no.
going to start, joining us from a Starbucks or something. I know it.
Just change the router password.
From a Starbucks, exactly, yeah.
Good stuff. Let's see who else is there. I don't think there's anybody else waiting at the moment, so we will make a start. No, there we go. There is Guy is there. And Alon, who might be able to explain the Sherpa to us, seeing as it's his collab watch. Good morning, Guy. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. Good morning, Alon. How are you?
Good morning. How are you all?
We are very good. You're very loud. You're very loud. Let me turn you down a bit for all of those listening on YouTube. So there we go. And we're possibly expecting one more. We'll see if Ralph makes an appearance shortly. Let's go round the room, see who everybody is, where they are, what they're wearing on their wrist today. Ariel, you're first on my screen. Where are you? What are you wearing?
I'm wearing the Accutron Space View 2020 because if I don't on a regular basis, it will die.
And how regular? Like, is it a calendar item on Google Calendar? You got to put Space View on.
I don't know. I mean, it would be really nice if it had a power reserve indicator. That's definitely a feature I enjoy on a battery-powered watch like this. For the most part, again, it has a 2-year battery life, but if it dies for good, you have to send it back to Accutron to resuscitate it, and I want to avoid that. So I just nervously have to put it on for a few minutes all the time.
Is that just the kind of stress you don't need in your life? I think
it's very stressful. I feel like I want to just put it on a permanent winder, but it's weird. It creates a strange relationship when the watch needs you or it'll die. You actually pay more attention to it. Yeah, it is.
Tamagotchi watches.
It's a Tamagotchi watch.
Okay, so you could put it on a watch winder then, which does seem entirely counterintuitive.
I know. It's weird. I'm having fun with this weird stuff. And I still like telling people, that's an electrostatic watch movement and just getting the blank stare because I can't even explain what that means.
Ripley, where are you and what are you wearing?
In Los Angeles and wearing the Islander Port Jefferson GMT. So Miyota 9 series movement. Nice. And it might be the cheapest Miyota 9075 GMT movement in a watch that I can think of.
Good stuff. David, where are you? What are you wearing?
I'm in a room. I'm in a nice and cold environment before the heat strikes. And I'm wearing an 1165-00.
He's actually wearing a watch. Congratulations. Very nice. Kevin, you're making faces on screen because I think you're getting the same warning message I'm getting about your recording. So this may go horribly wrong. I apologize in advance if the recording is now followed by silence for Kevin. But let's give it a bash. Kevin, where are you? What are you wearing?
Absolutely. Fingers crossed. I'm in South Kent. I'm wearing Oris Diver 65 Social Club Edition. Nice white dial.
Very nice. Guy, where are you? Let me guess what brand you're wearing.
I tell you what, can you guess? I'm trialing a new strap. Can you guess what that's made of?
I'm guessing rubber.
No.
Is it trash?
Oh. It is made of apple pulp.
Oh, this is the apple pulp one.
So I'm wearing the Like Mania, but I'm trialing the apple pulp, which is ocean plastic on the outside and apple pulp leather on the inside.
Okay.
And it's really comfortable.
Does it smell?
Yeah, have you sweat a bunch in it? The leather smells like death when it gets sweaty, but what about apple pulp? What happens there?
Like cider.
I mean, it is waste from cider production. So, do you know what? I'm quite impressed. It comes in loads of colours as well.
Do you get like free cider with it? I think that should be something you should co-brand with it. Neither do I, but you know, it's free.
No,
so
I see where you're going. Where you're going. But do you know what? It's really comfortable, and I think it looks really good. So,
cool.
I don't know. I might put 2 straps in the next pack because that's using more trash.
Like, is that counterintuitive from an environmental point of view?
I'm thinking,
let's send you more stuff, even though it's all recycled.
You're sending more stuff, but that means we're collecting more plastic out of the ocean and using up more apple waste. So
and just distributing it amongst the households of Britain,
and the world.
And the world. Good stuff. Hang on. Good morning. Where are you? What are you wearing?
Good morning. Still in Amsterdam, and I'm wearing my Uhrwerk UR103.
Oh, very good. Well, that probably wins the prize this morning. I'm in Scotland, and I'm still wearing this, going back tomorrow, the Bell & Ross. Very nice indeed. I'm super impressed. I can't say any more than that. It has survived 2 weeks on a farm and a building site.
That's high praise.
And drums. It survived the drums. That was a key thing. Would I hear all the springs disappearing as I was playing at the weekend? I don't know if the marketing people have any appreciation of what I've been doing with this watch, but, you know, I don't think I technically signed the agreement. So, you know, they were getting it back in spare parts, had it flown into a gazillion pieces, but it hasn't. It survived very well. Incredibly comfy. Highly recommend. 5 stars. Good. Right, let's get on. We might do things. I still don't see Ralph. Let me just check and see if he is around. Nope. Going to do things maybe slightly differently this week. We're going to play a group game of Guess the Price of the Seiko first. Okay. So I'm going to share this. I'm just sharing the love. This is in our WhatsApp group. This is Adam's first article for a blog to watch. The Seiko Presage Craftsmanship Series SPB 445J1. I've lost the will by the time we get to this far. Arita porcelain dial watch. It's a pretty watch, 24-hour time on 6 o'clock, 3-day power reserve, porcelain, Seiko Presage, but has it strayed into Grand Seiko territory. So let's have a look and see what else do we need to know about this watch. Any questions, gentlemen, before I inflict guess the price of the Seiko on you? Nope.
Yeah,
all clear
what
from the
movement
pictures
is in it?
All clear from the pictures to what we're looking at.
6
stars. Yeah, I'm just trying to find it because I didn't write it down. It is a 6R5H automatic, 25 plus 25 to minus 15 seconds per day. I really wish Seiko would sort out their description of, you know, fastness and slowness. They seem to just do this to stop you making warranty claims, it seems. Yeah, it's fine, because there's no way that this runs that badly in a range per day, surely.
They're literally saying there is.
This is the worst. It just feels like they always put the worst case scenario for all of their watches. I don't know. Anyone got any experience of just how bad timekeepers Seiko Presages are? Because they don't seem to be selling this one particularly well as being an exemplary time.
It's like Shishido peppers. Most of them totally fine, keep way better time than their specs, but like every so often you get that one that it's just like it reaches the outer end of that, and it's you basically might as well have just gotten anything else. But you know, you can just open it up yourself and go nudge the regulator and sort that out. But yeah, most of the ones I've ever owned keep time better than their specs, but I have 100% got a couple that are right on those outer perimeters, which are, it's like half a minute. That's pretty wild.
Okay, let's see what price you think we should be paying for this watch. Ariel, what do you think this is worth? Oh, okay. What do you think it's worth? What do you think they're asking you to pay for it? 2 different questions.
Yep.
Answer them both. Sorry, 400.
1,200.
1,200 bucks. What do you think it's worth? What would you actually pay for this watch?
Ooh, less.
Less. I'll go for less. Less is fine. Ripley, I'm not guessing there's going to be too many people saying let's pay more for it. Ripley, what's your guess for this Seiko Presage?
1,800.
1,800. Not too bad. And do you think you would pay 1,800 for it?
More than likely not. I'd love to see this porcelain dial, but I also have an entire dish set of porcelain at my house. So, the specialness of the material isn't necessarily going to be the selling point. It'll all be an execution.
And you've got a wall. If you need solid natural material, you can just go and sit next to your wall. David, how much do you think they're trying to flog this for versus how much you think you'd be willing to pay for it?
I think it's $13.95, and I'd pay $6.95 for it used.
So by $13.95, do you mean $1,395, or do you mean $13.95?
I mean $1,395. Yeah.
Kevin, it's a tricky one because of that porcelain dial, so I will go $1,550. Sorry, $1,550.
$1,550. This feels like we're getting strategic now in terms of the numbering system. Guy, you're a good judge of these things.
We're doing dollars, aren't we? I'm assuming.
We're doing dollars. We're in dollars.
They're always more expensive than I ever think they're going to be. So I'm going to say like 1,900.
1,900. And finally, Alan, with your retailer hat on, what do you think? What do you think you could sell this for?
I think I can sell this for 2,500, but I believe Seiko priced it just a tad under 2,000. That's what I think, because I've seen this in the WhatsApp group. I did not read the article. Is it real porcelain? Because people mix up enamel, cold enamel, real enamel, grand feu, and porcelain. This is porcelain, like Ripley said, right? Like your tableware.
I believe so. Whether it's like your tableware, I don't know, but it's definitely advertised as porcelain rather than
because if it's done beautifully, and I think 2K is a bargain.
Okay, well, it's a very nice looking watch. It is $1,900, so Guy, you're on the money. I didn't even cheat.
I nearly read it last night when the link was in the WhatsApp group, and I was like, no, I'm not going to cheat.
Not going to cheat. Not this time, anyway. So, what's happening to Seiko's prices? Because this makes no sense to me. It never
random
has.
Number generator run by chimpanzees. You know what I mean? Like there's it's more than just random. There's an X factor in with the random too, because like if it was just random numbers, there wouldn't be nearly this degree of surprise.
Right. Okay. So it's random numbers, but with a mildly high IQ from some ape of some description. Right. Okay. That's good to know.
Why do you guys say that? You know why I came to the 2000? Every micro brand that uses Le Jouperet G100 is around the 2000. Can't this compete with that? And is it not better or more value for money? And the problem with Seiko is everything below Grand Seiko and Crador, there's a big bandwidth. So for me, the problem always is this low-end, mid-range, high-end Seiko, and when does it come close to Grand Seiko?
This is why we have the game along.
Exactly. I was just going to say.
Yes, because it defies such
logic.
Logic.
But what is Presage? Is that the highest within Seiko? I don't know. You guys maybe know.
No, it's like dressy Prospex. It's above mainline Seiko, but all the Presage models are like a dressier aesthetic. But so it's like the dressy Prospex, still mainline Seiko, better than Seiko 5 and the average stuff. So you get a 6R instead of like a 4R movement. But it's not like the Seiko, King Seiko stuff. And it's also not like the those weird high-end Seikos that aren't branded as anything, but they're like an SLA and they've got like basically a downgraded Grand Seiko movement in there. So that one needs a name, that collection. But yeah, it's like dressy Prospex.
Yeah, so I understand. That's why you guys think this is a steep price. So this is, excuse my ignorance, but maybe we have an idea. We do a Seiko special on aBlogtoWatch weekly, and we go from rock bottom up to Grand Seiko, include Grand Seiko, and we can do a hit and miss maybe on all the levels because I'm oblivious.
I think I'll be like a feature length.
They only have 5,000 SKUs, so it's going to be like a 5-day long podcast, basically.
So he basically wants Seiko Guess the Price, the movie. Okay, that's what you want?
It'd be more like a Netflix series than a movie.
Watch at your own discretion, yeah. 5 seasons. We are in the 5th season, and we are only past the $2,000 mark. That's great.
I think possibly you've hit on something, maybe 10 watches, various SKUs, and you have to rank them in order of price successfully. See who gets the closest.
I think the Geneva Convention just, it's torture. This is classified as torture. You're going through the Seiko catalog, guessing the price of all of it.
Join aBlogtoWatch Weekly for your Seiko war crimes.
Exactly.
That's as we rearrange these watches into price points.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, right. Well, let's move on from that. I still don't see Ralph. Ralph, if you are there and hearing, then do try and log on. Let's discuss this. Let's give this a hit miss, maybe. Making Bremont's first tourbillon. Okay, we haven't actually reviewed this yet on aBlogtoWatch Weekly. I don't know whether we will be brave enough to review it, whether the comment section would ever be able to cope. But this
I'm going to be writing a hands-on, by the way. So just
are you? Excellent.
Oh, yes.
I look forward to that. So Bremont's first tourbillon, there's not a lot to be said other than this is Bremont's first tourbillon. It's in their new case. It looks like Davide Chirato has brought the world time function from the Mont Blanc series that he did when he was there. The Geosphere. And I love the Geosphere. The Geosphere is a great watch. This, to me, looks like a modern-day attempt at the Moser Swiss Icons watch. Like a 2024 version. I really don't know what's going on, but I'm guessing we might be about to see something and hit this. Maybe I challenge anyone to deviate from the norm in this one. Is it a hit? Is it a miss? Or is it a maybe? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Go. Miss, maybe. Oh, we have 3, 4 maybes. Okay, let's investigate. Ariel, why is it a maybe?
Well, it's not a terrible watch. It looks nice. It's got some superfluous text on the dial there.
It's horrible.
In person, it's okay. I mean, again, I'm judging it based upon me wearing the watch on my wrist. It's kind of like, it's a bit childish, right? Because it's sort of like, hey, Daddy, look, a tourbillon. Like, it's not a serious looking watch in the scheme of tourbillons. It's a novelty tourbillon in the sense that it doesn't need that. But for that person that just wants to sort of like whiz bang, look at the moving things, there's a little globe on there, look at the colors, it does its job. So like if he handed me one, I wouldn't be like, how dare you, sir? I'm not going to like stay up at night putting it on my Grail list or anything. But in person, the text on the dial is not as apparent. I promise.
And yours for only £27,500. Ripley, how'd you vote?
I said it's a maybe. I'm not a fan of all of that text around the tourbillon, letting you know that it is in fact a tourbillon. And there's a lot that it could do differently. Like
not exist.
No, I like that Bremont is doing this. They rolled out a bunch of new watches. There's the whole rebrand. The Terra Nova collection comes in all different levels of complications from a two-handed time-only model. This is a Terra Nova, so it's got the same case, a lot of the same aesthetic codes. But it takes it in the far opposite direction with the world timer and or a dual time, I guess, and a tourbillon. So, I mean, it's a maybe miss. I would in no way spend this on it for myself, but I like that they did this because although it's not to my liking, I still think this is a more interesting watch than some of their other releases this year.
Okay. David?
I wouldn't maybe. It's I quite like the design of the dial with these lines, this sunburst style lines. I like the large hands. Yeah, the extra time display is a bit more blondish, but I still kind of like it. I don't like the case. I don't like the gap between the strap and the case, the wide lugs, and the price. So it's a maybe.
So you don't like the price, you don't like the case, you don't like lots of things about
I
it.
like the dial, basically.
Kevin, bring some sanity to this.
Well, I shall certainly try. I did actually manage to see it at Watches and Wonders and spend a bit of time with Davide on it, and it actually looks better in the flesh than on the renders. I actually thought a hit, but I did remember the price, and I thought, oh, definitely not. It's definitely not for me. But 27.5 for Tourbillon. I mean, is it a British movement Tourbillon? Does anybody know?
The British watchmaking community being famous for making their tourbillons. I don't.
No.
I mean,
is this
it made at the wing?
I assume this is an Arage tourbillon, is it?
Oh,
No,
was it part of the K1 series?
It's one of those other suppliers. I don't know.
It's one of those,
Time or something.
I mean, I don't know. Do they still have the relationship
Tourbillon.
with? Do they still have the relationship with Orage? I'm not sure that they do.
No. David, who'd you say it was?
No, I was just saying it's a tourbillon. It's some tourbillon.
It certainly
A
is. What if it was 7,500? That's a sweeter deal.
It looks nice. It, as you say, it's straight from the Geosphere design platform, basically, and which Davide's brought across. But I think it's quite nice. It looks good. The price is a bit of a challenge for me, but I mean, I'm glad that they're actually doing it, pushing the boundaries, making sure that they get the press notifications that they do. But I like the fact it's highly exclusive as opposed to just exclusive. Maybe the Tourbillon's making it highly exclusive. It's probably made to order, to be perfectly honest, but it's nice. It's nice. I like it.
Okay.
The strap's probably the best bit, to be honest. The strap's the one bit I'd buy. I voted a solid miss. Not just because I think it's ugly, but because the whole point, like the Bremont came out, and I know that the whole Bremont rebrand is controversial, but they came out and were like, right, we're an adventure watch. Here's Jimmy Chin climbing some rocks because we make adventure watches that are $2,000. Oh, and by the way, here's 27.5 grand for a tourbillon that you couldn't wear for anything like that. It's just like they came out as like, this is us, this is our new brand, this is what we want to be, and launched a product that was nothing like that, which is just stupid. And it's not made in London, and it doesn't even have the horrible logo that they've just put on it.
Exactly. If you're going to have a horrible logo and invest in a horrible logo, at least stick to using the horrible logo. They've already dropped it. It's just, I'm sorry, it's just weird. It's just weird. Alon, what did you think?
I've seen it in the flesh. I voted a miss, and I've been thinking about it since Watches and Wonders. I think that I'm disappointed because I had such high expectations from Davide, and I think he could have done better, starting with the fact that he doesn't need the Geosphere vibes in Bremont. He doesn't need that text, like I think Ripley said that around the Tourbillon cage. So, yeah, I don't know. But putting the price in perspective, there's another Terra Nova coming in that price point, and then the Tourbillon seems a bargain. So everything is relative.
Okay. Ralph has joined us. Ralph, you've not seen the whole chat before, and so instant reaction. Have you seen this Bremont in real life, and what do you think?
In real life, I haven't seen that specific one with the Tourbillon. I have seen the normal ones. I thought, especially the two-hander, the three-hander, I thought they were actually quite nice. I really liked them, especially in the metal with a 904 steel. They had a nice sheen to it. I thought the quality was great. The rest of the Terra Nova collection was a bit of a miss for me because, again, the Geosphere copy is really not for me, and I think the Geosphere itself was not for me. This one as well is not for me. It's a miss. So this particular one, definitely a miss for me. It just has a very sporty black case, but the Tourbillon, the Geosphere, it's a mismatch for me. It just doesn't work.
Good stuff. Well, I'm going to try and show our next watch, Nitmus. Maybe it isn't actually on their website yet, despite the fact that the press release has been released. I thought we'd cover this because it matches another thing that we have been speaking about, which is ridiculous anniversary celebrations. So here we are. Here is Doxa, the Clive Cussler edition for his 93rd birthday. He is deceased as Clive Cussler, so Doxa have decided to bring out a watch celebrating not a round number, but a 93rd anniversary. This is similar to the one we saw some time ago, the kind of abused-looking Doxa.
The one with the Bremont logo on the dial, right?
The one with the Bremont logo on the dial. Yes, the zoomed-in Bremont logo on the dial. So, what do we think? What do we think of this? Is this a hit, a miss, or a maybe? 1, 2, 3, go. Maybe. So, a hit! We have one hit! I will save him to the end. Ariel, why is this a maybe?
I saw the first one of these, and it's exactly as advertised. It's a pre-aged Doxa watch. For better or worse, you have to really like the Clive Cussler literary universe to understand this. They're fine. The Wayfinder thing on the dial probably does it slightly better than Bremont, right? But whatever. Look, there's a community out there of people that are really into this, particular genre. I met the guy's son in New York. He was pretty cool, and he's a writer. I just think that if they just left out the 93rd birthday part, this would have been a lot better, because it's the easiest thing to laugh about. They just left that out, but like, hey, this is the second Clive Cussler watch that we have. Because again, if you're into the vibe, if like you like Doxa and you like pre-aged, like boom, home run.
Yeah, absolutely. And yet this is, yeah, it's just weird. Why do you need to mention the 93rd birthday? Just very strange.
Those press releases have to have something other than the technical specs, right? I want to be really honest. Like, we wanted to sell more watches. We called the family. They didn't have any ideas, but they mentioned that he was nearing 95. Not quite 95. He was also dead. Let me remind you that.
I honestly, I can't help but feel that they came out with that last one and they didn't sell as many as they had hoped, but they had already purchased all the cases, these pre-aged cases, and they're like, well, make a black dial version, maybe it'll do better. And that's what we have now. I don't think it's a bad looking watch. It really looks like someone is absolutely abused a standard black Doxa, and it's got the Bremont logo on the dial. But I think it's a good looking watch. I think the 98th anniversary, even though he's dead, like none of that needed to be there. I think this could have come out with the other one and they said, hey, you can get it in these two other dial colors, and that would have probably been sufficient. But rather than making it's a whole second release. But then again, how would we celebrate this dead guy's 93rd birthday? So it needed to have a place within it. So I don't know. I think the watch in this instance is far better than the backstory they've created around it. But the watch itself, solid maybe, but like I would want to give it a hit on just merit of the watch alone, but having to explain to someone that this is the Clive Cussler edition, no, not the first one, the follow-up edition that was released to celebrate his non-existent 93rd birthday, that's the part that would kill me as a collector. So I it's a maybe for me.
It's a maybe. David?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's ridiculous. When I die, I want like a joke watch that says like, this would have been David's 9th. You could just scrape it off and just write another number on it. Where like, he lived, but he didn't. That's it. I like the aged concept. That's kind of cool. But overall, it's just no. I mean, the Doxas look really good in this worn look, so I will give it that. That's why it's a maybe. But the rest is just a joke.
It's a good looking watch. It's just a ridiculous idea. Kevin?
Oh, I absolutely love the watch. I mean, the marketing department should be shot, or they should be shot. I mean, to come up with a backstory like that is just ridiculous to sell a watch. I'm totally with Ripley on this. Cool watch. Perhaps come out with it when the first series came out, different colorway. But marketing people, what are they thinking? Tell me, what are they thinking?
Guy, marketing person, what were you thinking?
I was really interested in Ripley's take on it, actually, because I think what they could have done was like, oh, the Clive Cussler was so popular, we've brought out a black dial version. And then that sounds like it's really good. And like, it's the 93rd birthday. I mean, I saw this yesterday and I had to kind of Google, like, I had to check the other one to remember that that was the white dial version and what the difference was. But I gave it a maybe. I think it's quite nice. Like, the age look looks cool. It's like that vintage watch looks cool. I wouldn't buy it. I like Doxas and I like the other ones, like the non-aged a bit more. But it's kind of cool. But yeah, 93rd birthday is stupid, but I like it.
Good stuff. Alan?
I voted maybe. I think it's cool. The first one was cool. In Dutch, we say a nice watch is a sold watch translated. So who am I to judge if it's not good or if it's...
That's a very Dutch phrase.
I saw the first one. I saw the first one before they launched it. Jan Edoch showed it to me. I like aged cases, so I think it's cool. It's indeed it's maybe far-fetched with the 39th anniversary, but today our industry is filled with made-up stories. And
who's got the ice cream van outside? So something's playing. Right, Ralph, justify yourself.
I'm the lone one that thought it was
the lone one.
So I think it's just a cool design. It looks nice. The whole Clive Cussler thing. I have no idea about Clive Cussler. Maybe I have read a book when I was younger from him. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I have a friend who's a banker who said he got the first one and he was so excited about it, like a small kid. He's like, hey, look at this. And there's the book in it. And I have to read the book now. It's amazing. And look at all of the little details and here and the logos of this and that on the watch. And he was like finding the Easter eggs in it. And he was so excited about it. So I guess, it has its niche. So
as a new strategy for educationalists everywhere is buy all your kids $3,000 watches with a book in order that they read the book. It's a good strategy. How many people here in the room have actually ever read a Clive Cussler book that they can remember? Nope, nobody's ever read Clive Cussler. That's fine.
I didn't know Clive Cussler was an author until the watch came out last year.
Okay, that I did know. I've been in enough airports to at least know that. Yeah, maybe they need to rethink this whole Clive Cussler thing when you've got 8 people who would at least reasonably qualified as being watch geeks have no interest in Clive Cussler whatsoever.
I actually thought he might be like a Jacques Cousteau, like a famous old diver, and then that would have made more sense.
He was a diver, and he was old.
Okay.
Right.
So I'm not all wrong.
He was old, but never as old as 93.
He would have been.
Rest in peace.
And now we know.
And now we know. What I want to know is, maybe it's a new thing. Like David, we make David his watch. This would have been David's 93rd birthday. And then when it comes to 94, like a subscription, you can just send it back. And every year the number gets updated. You just get a new plate, like Norcane with the plate that they put on the side of the watch.
Exactly.
They
just mail you the plaque and you can just screw it on yourself.
A bit like Norcane with a plaque and IWC perpetual calendars where they give you the extra numbers.
I'm touched. It would just be a counter for my age.
Exactly.
not for the actual year.
You can set... Now, there's we were talking about pointless complications. There's a complication no one's done that actually...
Yes.
The numeral updates, you can set it to your birthday so that it changes to how old you are. I mean, you get to our kind of ages, and I'm looking around the room.
I was looking at watch yesterday with the month around it, and I forget how old I am way more often than I forget what month it is. So
that's exactly what I was thinking.
An idea.
It's exactly what I was going to say. Was I also have that problem? So I think a wee complication that just records how old you are, and on your birthday it just flicks over.
The ageograph.
The ageograph.
Not a bad idea.
I think this has legs.
Oldometer.
I think that the oldometer. I think this has legs, gentlemen. Right, okay, who have we got? Right, Alon and Guy. That's your job to go and sort this out now, and we'll just take.
I think this is the best of
each.
all the ideas that have come up in this forum so far. It's a low bar, but
Yes.
It's a low bar. It's a low bar. Well, on that note, we leave you all with dreaming of the oldometer that we are going to invent.
The odometer.
The odometer. There's probably going to be a few of these Bremont cases available. So we could maybe use that with who's move. I mean, you must be able to readapt a perpetual. Yeah, I mean, you just need a perpetual calendar movement that you can set slightly differently. This is an entirely feasible project, gentlemen. I like this idea.
It's totally feasible.
So there we go. We'll have our own stand. Well, maybe not actually at Watch, maybe outside next to the hot dogs. Selling
A hot new feel-good complication.
Exactly. Or maybe, and then the sequel to it could be, you know, those websites you get where you type in the thing that tells you how long you've got to live. Like it predicts your date.
They actually
death.
already make a watch. They actually already make a watch like this.
Jones.
Yeah. No. A watch that counts down to your death. It's an electronic watch. This was 10 years ago that I was reading about it. It's an electronic watch. You program all of the details about height, weight, eating habits, how much you exercise, what your dietary stuff is, and then it starts a counter that counts down to your death.
And then you also have Mr. Jones that just says, "Remember, you will die." Just so you know.
Memento Moris.
Listen, I think I can see a whole range of watches. I've already planned out the next 5 years and how we develop. We put just a black one and a white one and then an aged one. The aged one actually then has some relevance. You produce an aged watch case. Anyway, on all of this nonsense, let's leave it for there. Thank you all very much for tuning into our podcast. If you're on the live, then you can hang around for a bit more post-match chat because I've yet to mention 2-1 to our English gentlemen, but we will chat. No, I said just remember the last team to beat Spain in a competitive match was who? Who was the last team to beat Spain in a competitive match?
How did that team get on at did that team get on well at the Euros?
It got on just as well as you. It didn't bring home a trophy either. Anyway, right, so we'll leave it at that. Thank you all very much for joining us. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.